sharing and hearing of His Word this morning as we pause and take a look at these words from Luke this morning. I heard about a little 6-year-old boy one time who struggled to listen through kind of a lengthy sermon one Sunday morning. And afterwards he asked his dad, "What's the preacher do during the rest of the week?" and that's not the end of the joke. The dad said, "Well, he said, he's a pretty busy man. He takes care of church business, he visits the sick, he studies the Bible, he goes to a lot of meetings. He has to take some time just to take care of himself and then to rest up a little bit." And he said, preaching in public is not an easy job." And after a few moments, the boy looked at him and says, "Well, Dad, listening isn't very easy either." Not that we ever run into that, but truth is, sometimes listening isn't always easy, especially if the message that we hear is challenging. We talked last week, for example, about the responsibility that we have as God's people, as a church, to reach out and to bring healing to people that are hurting. And that's kind of a tough message because that gives us some responsibilities and some things that we need to be aware of and be doing as God's people and as His church. And now we come to today and we look at the message today, and it too is challenging with what Jesus is saying in these words from Scripture. Now, we're talking, especially now, we look at what Dan has shared with and what Linda's been putting together for us and what Steve shared. These are some very important things for us to consider and to be a part of, but it means that we need to do some things. We need to be a part of some things. And in that process, what do? How do we respond? Why are we doing this? And why is it so important? I read this morning's Scripture, and as I said as I did, I really looked this thing over. And I'll be honest, I was a little troubled as I read through this and really looked at the implications and what Jesus is really saying to all of us. And as I read through that, the more I began to realize how I and the church many times don't respond to what Jesus is saying in the way that He desires us to. And it's not just one church or a few churches, but the bottom line, a lot of churches. A lot of us. In many areas, the very same things. Jesus teaches a message here that can be challenging to us, but it also is a message that can encourage us. It can encourage us to face these challenges, to be able to be more effective in ministry, and to be more of the church in what God desires. It gives us an opportunity to look at some things in a new way, in a realistic and a concrete way that we can be effective in the world around us and in the community as God calls us to be. We see this parable, these two parables. We see in the parables, in both cases, something of value is lost. Both those things, whether it's a sheep or whether a coin, had value. Now, Jesus was talking to a lot of the religious leaders here also. They too would have understood this because these items would have been valuable to them if they had them. And they would have responded the same way in searching and seeking out that sheep and that coin that would have been lost. The same case for them because it did have value. And the things we need to ask ourselves, if things like this in our life have value to us, what about people? What about people? How valuable are people in comparison? That's something to really think about. That can be challenging. That can be challenging to all of us. That term lost, it refers to those who really aren't with us, who aren't among us, who aren't here, who aren't in these seats of our church or any church, in our community, of any community, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. A lot of people are not, but these are people that God desires to be a part of His household, to be a part of His family, to be a part of what He offers. And so we see the responses, and shouldn't we respond in the same way? Shouldn't we have the same effort and perseverance? And shouldn't we too celebrate the victories of what we do? These things are all important. These passages remind us how we ought to be responding to those who aren't here. How we should be responding to those outside our doors and in the community. And yeah, it's challenging, but yet it's also exciting. Because it can open up new doors of opportunity for God's kingdom and the church. And there's some things it talks about what we do when we get out there and how we do that process. I think one of the things is compassion. Compassion. You know, look at these opening verses of what we just read. You know, it says, now tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to hear him. You know, these people were all drawing near to Jesus to hear what he had to say. People were running to him. They were running to him. They weren't avoiding him. They weren't ignoring him. They weren't making excuses why they weren't there. They were gathering around him. Even the religious leaders confirmed that. They said, golly, this man receives, in some versions it says welcomes, which I think is a better term. This man welcomes sinners and eats with them. That term that's used there, that term of welcome, it means that he accepts them, he cares for them, he loves them. You know, Jesus' message, the bottom line, they didn't come to Jesus because his message was easy to hear. Many times it wasn't. Many times it wasn't because it offered things to people that were difficult sometimes. And it wasn't because he compromised on sin and basically said, well, what you do is okay no matter what it is. They weren't gathered around Jesus because of the sensationalism, because of all the bells and whistles. It's not why they were gathering to him. They were there because of his compassion. Because he welcomed people as friends. As friends. He welcomed them. He had compassion, looking beyond their faults and understanding them for who they were and God's desire to love them and care for them and to bring them hope and to bring them life. He was a friend, not an enemy. And that's the attitude we need of compassion to the people around us. We need that attitude of compassion. I think that woman who was caught in adultery is an example. What she had done was punishable by death. That's it. Stoning, no question about it. It's cut and dry in the law. Religious leaders looked at that. They weren't interested. They were more interested in condemning and criticizing and fulfilling the law and putting her to death than showing compassion. Showing compassion, which Jesus did. And look at the result. He showed compassion. He touched a life. He made a difference. Now, he also said, go and don't do that anymore. That was the challenging part. But she was released. She had a new freedom and a new life. And it didn't come from being stoned, but it came from the compassion of Jesus. Compassion is so important in what we do. It's so important in what we do. That doesn't mean that we don't stand against things that are against moral values and those things that are unrighteous and wrong and hurting people. We do stand against them. We get angry about some of those things. But we don't turn it toward the person and the individual. But we have to offer hope and compassion and a second chance of life itself. Of life itself. And then there's effort. What we're talking about, what we're looking at, takes effort. It's going to take some work. That's the bottom line. I mean, Jesus emphasizes that in both of these parables, the effort in seeking what was lost. The sheep, leave the 99 and go out in the open country looking for the one and the coin. Look and search, grab a lamp, sweep the whole house, look until you find that coin. In each case, that which was lost was looked after, was sought after with a tremendous amount of effort. It took effort to do that. They had to search. They had to reach out. And unfortunately, I think what has happened is so often today in church society, it seems as we do just the opposite. We tend to wait for people to come to us. And then we wonder why it doesn't happen. Jesus said that's not how it works. It's not how it works. We have to go